Okay.
record.
Rick, you want to tell the people what they should
Okay,
do?
the public will be, tonight, the public will be muted until the board votes on an issue or there's public comment, and then you will be given an opportunity to speak. Participants wishing to comment must state their name for the minutes. And comments and questions can also be submitted via info@eastgoshen.org or by pushing *9 if you're on the phone. And if you're listening to YouTube while participating in the meeting, I ask you to turn the YouTube volume down when you call in, otherwise we'll have some interference. So Marty, the time's yours.
I'd like to.
Thank you very much.
Marty, I'd like
Everybody,
to,
and welcome to the reorganization.
Marty, I'd like to interrupt for just one item. I would prefer that public comment be held until after, if there is any public comment, after our organizational elements are fully addressed all down the line. I don't want to have public, I would prefer not to have public comment after each motion associated with the organization. I think public comment practically can wait till after we finish our organizational business, if that's acceptable to my colleagues.
I wasn't going to change anything, but the new chairman will have to decide whether or not they want to do something or not. But that's well stated, Michael. That said, welcome everybody. This is the reorganization meeting of the Board of Supervisors. Today is January 4th, 2021. We will have a two-part meeting. The first will be the formality of setting up everything for this year, and that will be followed by a regular meeting, which would be tomorrow night. However, it'll be tonight, and we don't have to worry about tomorrow night. The next meeting after that will be 2 Tuesdays from now, and that'll be the second meeting of the month. I'm Marty Shane. I'm currently the chairman for about the next 5 minutes of the Board of Supervisors. It is my pleasure to ask for nominations for chairman. The supervisors will do that in just a minute. I want to thank everybody for the help that they gave me this year. It was a somewhat rugged year starting in March, and we made it through. And I'm sure that next year will be equally challenging for the new chairman. And that's because of a couple of things. One is the pandemic thing, and also we are getting a new manager and we're getting a new director of finance. So all that will give some challenges to whoever is nominated for and is awarded the job of chairman. That said, I would open the nominations for anybody that would like to make a nomination for somebody. Please.
Shouldn't we say the pledge first?
Pardon me?
Shouldn't we say the pledge first?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to do that. I meant to do that. Thank you, Michelle. Since this is my last meeting, I would like to ask everybody that's on tonight to say the Pledge of Allegiance with me, and it's a good way to start the year. So for those that want to stand up, please stand up. For those that feel better, stand down, remain in your seats. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
which it
which
stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
David, I would like you as vice chairman to offer a moment of silence.
Yeah, may we have a moment of silence, please, for our healthcare workers, for our fire, our emergency services, our police, and those who serve in the military, all of whom go in harm's way every day to protect us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate that from everybody. Thanks, Michelle, for waking me up, please.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. It was my caffeine and that didn't do it. I didn't have the other part.
Marty, before we go into the business of the organization, and I'm sure it will echo with my colleagues, I want to thank you for your service as chair this year. It is a tough year. It has been a tough year in 2020. I know I was impatient with you at times, but that's part of my personality. But I really appreciate all that you've done. And so thank you for that, and hang in there this next year, and you can just be a contributor without having to be the man with the most with the gavel.
I'm gonna enjoy it thoroughly this last year of my tenure, which will be the 36 years, which I certainly think is enough.
Can I say something as well? I
Sure.
would like to echo Mike's words, particularly at the beginning in March when we had to go into a virtual meeting room. Marty, you were not on Zoom, and you were leading us via telephone without the advantage of seeing everybody. And that was very, very difficult. And you really did stay on task, and we really appreciated that. So thank you very much for your leadership.
I appreciate that, Michelle. Thank you. I thank everybody once again, and I'm sure whoever is chairman next year will get the same kind of support for them. That in mind, I would entertain nominations for chairman. Somebody's got to be chairman.
If I may, I'll offer a motion to nominate David Shuey for chair of the board for 2021.
It can't be a motion. It's just a nomination.
It's a nomination.
I would nominate, nominate David Shuey to serve as chair for the Board of Supervisors in 2021.
Anybody else?
Do we have a second there?
Well, we don't need one just yet. We just need to, is there any more nominations?
I would nominate Michelle Truitt.
Okay, is there any more nominations? I would move that the nominations be closed. Is everybody okay with that? There are two people, Michelle and David. It takes 3 votes to have somebody appointed. I would do it in the order of that we received the nominations. And the first one is for all those who are in favor of David, please signify by saying aye.
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 That's 3. All those in favor of Michelle?
Aye.
Aye.
That's 2. It's 3-2. Susan, it's a 3-2 vote. That means David is the nominee for this year, and I welcome him. And it is my last parting ways. David, God bless you, and I hope everything works out well for you. And I look forward to your meeting, the way you go about this. I think you'll be very successful. Thank you, everybody. And David, you may take over now, and it's your show for the rest of 2021.
Thank you, Marty. At this point, I will open the nominations for vice chair, and I will nominate Mike Lynch as vice chair.
I would second that.
You don't have to. We're in the same thing.
Any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor of Mike Lynch as vice chair for the year 2021, say aye.
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 Opposed? Mike, congratulations, you're vice chair.
Susan, that's 5-0.
Okay, thank you.
Good. I'm going to take the next appointments one at a time. So the next appointment is for the police commissioner. John Herzog has served nobly at that position in 2020. So I nominate John to continue in that role.
I'll second John.
I second. Michelle, good?
Marty got it.
Are there any other nominations?
I think John's doing an outstanding job.
Hearing none, I'll close the nominations and take a vote. All those in favor of John Herzog as police commissioner for 2021, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. John, congratulations, 5-0.
John,
The
I
next-
don't know if we should congratulate you or give you a moment of silence.
The next appointment is for the pension committee. I served on that committee last year.
I would like to nominate David Shuey.
Thank you, Michelle.
I'll second that.
Any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of me continuing on the pension committee, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, that carries.
David,
Um,
make sure you tell Susan what the vote is.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
5-0, Susan. Susan, if you have a question about the vote count, just let me know, okay?
I will do that. No problem, David.
What, in 2 or 3 months, you'll have this down.
No, I'm gonna let her tell me if she has a question.
Yeah.
Because I'm the
that's
chair
fine.
now, so I'm
Right.
the boss. I'm the boss of you.
You're definitely that.
I'm just
You're also
kidding.
bigger too.
I'm kidding. The next appointment is for the representative to the Westchester Area Council of Governments, and I'd like to nominate Michelle for that position.
I'd like to second that.
Thank you.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, those who are in favor of Michelle serving as the representative for Westchester Area Council of Governments signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no.
Aye.
Congratulations, Michelle. You are appointed as Westchester Area Council
First
Government.
pretty crowd there, Michelle. We were glad enough for that job.
Yeah. The next, I would like to take the next grouping of appointments as a consent motion, as a consent resolution to appoint township officials under the resolution 2021-5. You all received copies of those with the board materials. So I'd like to do F through Q as a consent approval of the resolution.
David, that's okay, as long as nobody has an issue with any of them, because.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask that. Is everybody okay with the list? As so we got some supporting materials for some of the for our solicitor, for our engineer, township engineer.
I'd like to raise a discussion item for one of the proposed appointments, and that is for the township engineer.
Okay.
The Pannoni Associates, which is engineering, which has does a terrific job and has been the longstanding engineering firm for the township. They, I think, are the only professional consultants that have indicated an increase of 2.5% on their rates. I would note that, in particular, the authority, municipal authority, has deferred to the board to see what our decision is on that one before they make an appointment for the township engineer, specifically related to the increase. As far as I know, and correct me, Rick, if I'm wrong, none of our other professional consultants have increased their rates for 21. Am I correct or incorrect?
Kristen's staying the same, and this is the only other one we have.
And I would note that while the indicated rate increase is 2.5%, in a climate presently of inflation in the Philadelphia region, at least one of the indices through the Bureau of Labor and Industry through 12 months is 0.8%. The actual increase for the township engineer and the authority is more like 3.8%. And we note that, at least some of the year to date in 2020 for engineering services of approximately 50,000, 30,000, 13,000, there's an abundance of services going the way of Pannoni. And I would request that Pannoni consider, and the board, if they are so inclined to agree with me, consider a smaller increase or holding off on an increase in 21, given the service relationship we've had, the long term, the current climate, and the current rate of inflation.
Chris, didn't you or Ricky go back to them after we had some conversation about this before?
Yes, I actually had an email communication that I provided documentation to you from Mike Ellis, actually, who said that his response was that their rates are the same for the municipal authority as they are for the township, and that they are, the schedule is an adjustment consistent with other appointed engineer rate schedules for municipal clients throughout southeastern Pennsylvania. So I believe Mike Ellis is on the phone if you wanted to hear from his aspect.
I'd like to hold off, Chris, first on hearing from any of my colleagues. If my colleagues
Okay,
feel
Yeah,
just proceed with the rate increase, I'll drop it. If you think it's merits further discussion, I'll leave it to my colleagues if they have any comment before Mike gets on.
Mike, how does this relate to the municipal authority? They deferred to us. I'm not sure I'm clear on.
The municipal authority has its own autonomy to appoint, but they just deferred to see how we felt about the rate increase and whether and what our action was going to be on the matter.
I don't think we ever had a difference between the municipal authority and the township when anybody did. I don't think we did in all the years I've been on the board.
no, but
Is
it
that-
only does bill the municipal authority directly for services provided to them. So before they, as I said, before the municipal authority would approve Pannoni as the engineer for municipal authority, they wanted to defer to the board to see if the board, you would approve this service at this rate.
I would
Look, I'm
say-
not trying to put the spotlight in a negative way on Pannoni. They're an outstanding engineering firm. Mike is as an example of the resources, professionalism they provide. I'm merely suggesting and indicating this in the current climate that our other professionals have held their rates given the circumstances, and there's an abundance of work that we continue to exchange and service through Pannoni that will continue in 21. And if nothing else, if you want to play it up on appearances and just a reasonable practicality given the circumstances of municipal government and in the overall climate, that's my main point.
Well,
Can I
and
ask
I was going to add to that. Sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to add to that with the budget cuts that have been made in 2021 and all the things that have been deferred. I think, Mike, you raised a good point about trying to take a different approach to this this increase.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Would it be possible to table this particular issue and move on with the rest?
we can do that. We can consider that.
I think
Thank you.
personally, I can understand why Mike is saying what he's saying, and this is a difficult environment. I think it bears a discussion tonight. These kind of things are going to come up from time to time in these meetings, and it does elongate the meeting. But I would tell you, it's important to make a decision because these boards are meeting. Before the next thing you know, they're meeting before we have our meeting, and that might screw the works up. So I can appreciate what John is saying, but we have to fight through this. This is not something you can really prefer to move.
And I'm a no.
If I can just also interject here, I am in agreement that it's something that warrants further discussion. I have some questions, and I like the idea of, if it's possible, Mr. Chair, to postpone this until later in the meeting, perhaps after we've done some of the business, and then after a certain point, maybe you can insert it somewhere.
Okay.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, we can still approve F through Q and carve that out and then deal with that as a separate issue. And we'd be glad to do that.
That's correct.
So what I would do is entertain a motion to approve the appointing a township officials resolution 2021-5, carving out the further discussion on the item F9, Township Engineer Pannoni Associates, for further discussion. So that way we take care of all the other appointments, and then we can have a discussion about that.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any board discussion?
Don't forget the audience.
Yeah, I think Mike's point was that during the reorg meeting, Rick, do we need to open that to,
Yes.
okay,
Unfortunately, you either have to have public comment on agenda items before the meeting,
yeah,
or you can do public comment on each item as you go through it.
and that's what I
Since we
thought.
do it on the back end, then you now have to open it up.
So are there any comments from the public?
Just a reminder, anybody in the public, if you have a comment, you can raise your hand by hitting *9, and then we can have you ask your question. So David, there are no hands up.
Okay, great. Then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Hearing none, we have approved resolution 2021-5. And that's F through Q.
Carving out number 9.
Carving out the Pannoni. And we might as well go ahead and have that discussion next, because the next, then we kind of move into our regular meeting after this. So
Mr. Chair, just as a matter of clarification, what was approved was resolution 2021-5 through 2021-65.
that's right. Yeah,
Each of them have a different resolution,
that's correct. Yes, that's correct.
exception of F9. Okay.
Hey, David, there was some discussion about, and I appreciate Chris sending that notice down. She's on the second page of that, and the only one on the second page. I'm assuming that we have not questioned that what Chris sent in the memo is correct. Is that correct? Am I correct? Because
Actually, we approved resolution 2021-5, 2021-6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 34, 65, and 65. Yeah, those resolutions.
But 2021-5 is everything except for number
Number
9
9.
being carved out.
That's correct,
Okay.
except F9. That's correct.
I just want to make sure that Chris had a promise made from us, and I just want to make sure that that's included in this motion.
Yeah, that and the minute should reflect the resolutions that we just approved.
Okie dokie. Chris, I think that takes care of you.
So let's talk about the F9, the township engineer, further discussion.
So the questions I wanted to ask, maybe Rick or perhaps maybe even Mike Ellis would be able to answer since he's here. I'd like to know when the last time Pannoni put a rate increase into their contract with us. And if we know when that was, how much it was, what the percentage was. Rick, do you happen to know? Or Chris?
No, it went up last year. It was a couple percent.
Okay.
Rick, I have a question. Is there ever competition for this business?
We had an engineering firm we used years ago. We got rid of them because they were not servicing the account, and we went with Pannoni, primarily based on their experience with the sewers and the sewer plant, and the way that worked out with them. They do a great job. I won't say anything, I can't say anything. Their reviews are timely. The reviews are on point. They do a great job.
And I agree. I agree with that.
I think we did it because it's kind of important that there's continuity to these engineers or even a solicitor, because it's just one of those things. We've asked that question a number of times, John, and we sort of get the same answer back from ourselves, that it doesn't make sense to go out and have somebody come in, have to go through the learning curve, and then they go through the same process next year, and they might be out. So I would say Personally, I think our Mike has a really good point that I happen to agree with because of the nature of the year. Whether or not other engineering firms do it for their clients is irrelevant in our discussion. We have another professional, that's our solicitor. The solicitor, I think, for probably has stayed pace for a number of years. I'm not suggesting that, but I think that's what they've done. But I would say, Mike, that's a little bit too aggressive for the environment that we're in. I'm not sure what, I think one thing that has to be shared is we used a multiplier of 1.2, right? I think that's what it was at the time that John found it. Wasn't that correct, Chris?
No, there is no multiplier. The rate Pannoni charges us, we charge.
Talk about what are we charging with our employees? The hourly.
Oh, what, 1.3,
1.3. So you got to bear
the
that.
cost of living increase.
You got to bear that in mind too. I mean, you can't lose sight of the fact that we're for the same reason that Pannoni wants to do it. We're giving our people a raise too. So, but I'm not sure if I forget what the numbers are right now, but I would say that the highest we should go is the same rate that we're doing for our employees.
I'm kind of torn on this one. Mike, what's your opinion on the Mike Lynch? What's your opinion on is any rate increase acceptable in this environment? I'm feeling uncomfortable about it.
Well, I'm a bit uncomfortable. In my other world, the engineering firms we use have held their rates for this next year, as well as our solicitors. We use a number of firms. But again, I think given the context, but also the reference to our current employees, that certainly a rate increase consistent with that would be acceptable to me. Again, I just feel that a firm like Pannoni that the township has had a great relationship with for, I don't know, Rick, 25, 30 years, 30?
No, not that long.
Oh, no.
Maybe 10, 15.
Oh, it's only 10, all right, 10 or 15 years. And the amount of services that we use them for, and the billable hours, and the amounts that little give and take is a reasonable thing for an established business relationship. So I'm feeling some of that discomfort, Michelle. And Mike, again, Mike Ellis is a staff professional. He's not able to make those calls. But Mike, if you want to comment, please.
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Sure.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much. This is Mike Ellis from Pannoni. No, I appreciate the years of service that we've had with the authority and the kind words that you're saying. Yeah, it's been, I think, about 16 years now with the authority, and obviously a little bit less with the township. But our general philosophy is that we're anticipating the engineering industry to have experienced salary increases this upcoming year around 3%, which is fairly customary within the industry. And our general philosophy is to avoid significant rate increases every few years by moderating them gradually, annually, accordingly, in order to retain our talented staff and to be able to give the raises and keep the knowledge that we have with the township and the authority. So I do appreciate what you're proposing. I would be willing to go back and propose comparable increase to what to that 1.3% that you're offering for your staff in the spirit of maintaining our partnership with the township and the authority.
Hey, Mike, this is Marty Shane. I have to be honest about it. We awarded this year what the rate was at the time. But at the same time, in the past couple of years, we haven't been very generous. In fact, we've had no increases in some years. So that 1.3% that we're using this year is a little bit deceiving because it has something to do with what's gone by in the past. So we haven't been very generous with our employees, although we like to be, but we just haven't had the wherewithal to do it, the ability to do it. So I think it's a fair question to ask that you, some increase is okay, but you can't have the whole barrel at the same time. And you can't expect the same increase every
I
year. We
think
can't
he
handle
already
3%
said he'd go
increase.
back, didn't he?
Pardon me?
Yeah. How do you want to
Yeah.
proceed? We could make a motion to approve them subject to their approval of no more than a 1.3% increase or whatever number you want to use. And then if they come back, that's approved. If not, then we have further discussion. That makes sense.
Is 1.3 an acceptable number for all of us? I think we have to determine that too.
Well, let them come back. Let them come
Yeah.
back. I think
Yeah.
David has a good idea there.
Yeah, I do too. I agree. So, should we make a motion then to
Be
postpone
careful,
voting on this
We
until,
should be careful about the motion you're making because I don't know who's having what meeting in the next couple of weeks, but.
right,
we
so
don't
that's why I'm
know for a couple
asking what
weeks,
kind of
so
a motion
You got to
should
be
we
a
be
little
making?
bit careful about this.
I wanted to, the reason I mentioned the number is that I wanted to make it subject to a number, because if we leave it open, then
Yeah, I agree.
then we really can't vote in favor of it.
If we're
So
comfortable with
Yeah.
1.3, I'd make it 1.3 and let Mike go back and say the township has approved 1.3. Is that okay with us?
That's
what I would
fine
do.
by me. I do want to reiterate,
Okay.
I was just looking at the rates for the other municipality that I work for, and all the professionals, which include several attorney firms, includes Comita, includes Unruh, includes Carroll Engineering, includes Gilmore Engineering, and a number of others. And the percentage change is 0 for every single one of them, including Buckley Bryan, of course, we use as well. So of the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 different consultants that we appoint each year, none of them have increased their rate for 21.
All right. I'm still okay with David's
Me
suggestion.
too, John, me too.
I am too.
all right. So the motion is that we would approve Pannoni Associates as township engineer, subject to them coming back with a suggestion on a rate increase of 1.3% or less.
I second that motion.
Mike,
Any other board discussion?
Yeah, but you better ask Mike though, as long as he's still here, about what he thinks about that. Because, if we can't, you sort of got to draw a conclusion here somehow.
Doesn't really
We're
matter.
not
This is
drawing
mine.
a conclusion. If they come back with more than 1.3, then we have to start benchmarking engineering services, I guess.
He's going to have to come back within 2 weeks.
I'm sure he will. Mike, thanks very much for your consideration. And if you pass that on to David, I certainly appreciate it as well.
Any further board discussion? Any
Not
public
here.
comment?
No, there's no hands up.
Okay, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. And thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you to the board. Yeah, I greatly appreciate it. Look forward to another year. And yeah, we'll be back in touch. I'll get some information out to Rick in the next couple days.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mike.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Mike,
Okay. Moving on.
Hey,
Well
Rick,
handled, David. Well
thank
handled.
you. Thank you. In the
Agreed.
in the agenda, where do we want to handle the ABC appointments and board liaisons?
They're down under new business.
After you
Is
get.
that under new business? Okay, thank you.
You get.
All right,
do that
we'll
after
move
you
on
get-
with kind of our standard meeting, and I'll do the chairman's report. I want to announce that the board did meet in executive session on December 29th to discuss several personnel matters. The second thing is that the annual planning session will be held on Tuesday, January 26th at 6:30 p.m. That'll be a Zoom meeting This is the planning session where the agencies, boards, and committees basically lay out what they've accomplished in 2020 and look forward at their plans for 2021. The third thing is that Jim Ruggiero has resigned from the zoning hearing board as the associate or the alternate member. Jim moved out of East Goshen Township, and a residency requirement is required for that position. So that position is open, but will be filled later on in the meeting. So we've moved on to police and EMS reports, and there are no reports this evening. There's no financial report this evening. We're going to move on to the approval of the minutes. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the minutes of December 15th, 2020.
David, I have looked at them pretty carefully, and I have not found anything that needs to be changed.
I did, actually. So just for clarification, on page 2, line 11, I was discussing the East Goshen Fire Company can assist
Yes.
our residents with the billing process if they have a medical emergency that requires transportation outside of East Goshen Township. That has to be put in there to clarify. It was specifically so that that there was an understanding that if they are a subscriber, even in East Goshen Township, if they have an incident that occurs in another township, they'll help with that. They'll help advocate for the resident.
Okay,
That's the only clarification.
will do.
Any other clarifications on the minutes from the board?
I'm good.
None.
All right.
I would
Oh.
move to accept the minutes if that's okay. Dated 12/15 of 2020 with the correction that I had given to Susan.
Is there a
Second the
second?
motion.
Okay. Public comment?
No public comment.
Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thanks, Michelle, for that clarification.
Problem.
The final is the treasurer's report for December 31st. Chris, you want to give us a summary?
So we're in the height of year-end closing. As I indicated in the cover memo, we have recorded a lot of the obligatory year-end transfers, fixed assets, sewer assets, state liquid fuels. Barb did a great job coordinating with Sue Smith and Mark Miller in Public Works to get that nailed down and record it. That's all reflected will be reflected in the next financial report. We have year-end chargebacks that need to get done. I'll point out that we did record $505,522 for the Q4 reimbursement from Goshen Fire Company. Thanks to Kelly, she worked really hard this week, or last week actually. At year end, she was able to get the fire company the information, get the check from the fire company, and deposit it all before the end of the year. So kudos to Kelly on that one.
Yeah.
We did record the COVID relief. We did get a WeGo PPU true up for $37,000. That's recorded.
Great.
And in capital reserve, we had, you'll notice in the financial reports or the treasurer's report that there are 2 items that were received as revenue and offset by expenditure for Alan Myers. We did just today receive, I said in my cover memo, we passed along the fire company non-police fire alarms to Goshen Fire Company. That was $17,000 collected in 2020. Any outstanding fire alarms not received payment for will be collected in 2021 and then passed on to the fire company. We did receive the East Whiteland and West Whiteland parkway maintenance fees today. So they will be recorded in January, as well as the Friends of East Goshen that $3,000 that Jason purchased gift cards for. His credit card bill will come in January. We got the check from Friends of East Goshen, so that will be a wash on the January financials.
Hey, Chris, do we treat the ones that come in that are January, but they're December, but they're paid in January? Do we credit that as December or do we credit that as January? Because our budget, I don't think looks at that, does it?
No,
You know what I mean? If somebody were to come along and make a payment in January for something that was received in December.
we're
which
on a
month do
cash basis.
Which month do you put it in?
We're on a cash basis, so it's
On a
a
cash basis?
month.
So it's actually can flop over to the next year.
Well, Marty, we're on a cash basis for our purposes. However, for auditing purposes, they do a modified accrual basis. So if the expense was incurred in the year, that's when it gets charged to. And if the revenue was supposed to be paid in that year,
All right, okay, that's what I thought. Okay,
it's a little confusing. But
That's a good way of doing it. I like that way.
Chris, didn't you share with us the year-end 2020 bottom line for the general fund?
I did not, but I do,
It was close. It was close though, Chris. Go ahead. Don't back down now. Don't
let's
back down.
we'll be in the black for 2020.
There you go, Chris. That's it. I knew if we put you in that job, we'd come with clean. That's that damn John.
I anticipate. But again, there were some, a large number of revenues that were unanticipated that contributed to that as well. And the budget cuts that the board adopted to make. So, I can't take,
We like them.
I can't take any credit for any of it, but I do believe.
You are going to get some credit for it, and I appreciate it because there was a substantial deficit looming as with the fourth quarter developed. And to be able to pull it back, yeah, you can't control unexpected revenues, but the true up from West Town was great to receive. We got the grant for some. I don't know whether the grant and the true up are going to be reflected in 21 or 20. I'm presuming 20.
Well, the PPU we received.
Oh, that was received. So good. So that contributed to it. So it's really good news that we're ending up, as you say, I don't care if $1 in the black. That's terrific.
I want to ask a question. We worked with a budget projection loss of a minus number of about 800,000, if I recall. It seems to
What you
me,
started out as, yes.
it seems to me that if we're basically level or close to it, that some of the things that we deferred, we might want to reconsider at some point in time, such as the boat tree pond and whatever else we think we ought to. I'm not suggesting we spend oodles of money, but some of the stuff that we deferred, it's going to cost us more money by deferring than it would be if we do it right away. So I'm not saying we need to do it tonight, but it's something to be thinking about because it seems to me that we ought to take advantage of the good luck we have.
Marty, if there's an improved environment, particularly as the first quarter starts to really show itself as we get through the first couple of months of the year and we see how March starts to shape up, and it's looking okay, I think those things can be brought up by the staff to present to the board again and see whether or not that the board wants to consider any of them, like the boat tree pond as an example. And we
That's fine.
Yeah.
We can talk about that. Can I, does anyone have any questions on the expenditure register?
Yes, I do. Just a couple. One of them is on page, you don't have to really go to it, batch one of 4 under the general fund. The Brandywine Valley SPCA, we had some smaller number that they billed us for, $500. My only question I wrote down here, with the new ordinance, are we looking at those now and starting to send out some invoices if that we have identified folks and can seek a reimbursement?
yes, we're now, Mark, wherever he is, Mark Gordon, yeah, does go through the reports, and if we can go get the money back from somebody, we go after it.
Okay. And
So
then
then to clarify that, when the SPCA sends us the invoices, they actually will indicate if they have a known
Yeah.
resident.
Yep.
That's how the chargeback would get done. So far, no luck.
Okay, all right, but at least you guys have it on your marker when it comes in. You say, "All right, let's check this and see if there's somebody." Okay. Oh, I appreciate.
Mark Phillips works with Mark Gordon on that.
Okay, good.
You say no luck, but the dogs had luck. So
They
Yeah,
did.
right.
True.
And then the only other one I had was a question. It's also under the general fund on batch 404, and the page number's off of it, but it doesn't matter. The question I have, it's for Eastern Salt Company, and the dollar amount doesn't particularly matter, but it's $12,000, 194 tons of salt. And help me clarify this, Chris or Rick. I thought that Mark Miller said when we were having our budget discussions that he had X tons, so to speak, quote unquote, on the dock that had been paid for, and that we had plenty of salt, so that when we considered some of the decrease in the winter maintenance budget for 21, he said, "I think we'll be all right. We have salt that we've paid for, et cetera, et cetera." So I'm a little confused when I see an invoice for $12,000 in salt, unless I misunderstood Mark when he commented that we have paid for salt already and it was on the docks.
I think Mark misspoke. We had salt in the bins, but this is salt that it was on the dock, and we either had to accept it or pay additional storage fee for it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Michelle?
He said something, he did say something about that to me. And what Rick just said, it does jive with what I recall.
Yeah, I just was looking for clarification on it because I thought that we might have had kind of, so to speak, salt in the bank, if you will.
Yeah, there was plenty of salt in the bank, but this was salt that was on order, and if we hadn't accepted it, there was gonna be a big charge for refusing it.
I have no other questions on the disbursements as proposed and prepared.
I have no other questions.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the financial report then.
Aye.
Wow.
Well, I'd make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we move to graciously accept the receipts and approve the expenditures as presented in the expenditure register and summarized in the treasurer's report.
Second.
That, there you go.
Okay, any further question? Any questions or comments from the public?
There are no questions.
Okay, hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Chris.
Welcome.
Next item on the agenda, we don't have any public hearing. Old business, we have none. New business. Now we are to the ABC appointments. We have quite a number of them. And I'd like to do the same thing we did with the consent agenda. I would like to appoint all of these people with a single motion. These people have been interviewed, and the best candidates, according to a board, have been selected. So the motion would be to appoint Sandra Snyder to the Conservancy Board, Alice Lenthy to the Conservancy Board, Mary Urbine to the Historical Commission, Walt Wujik to the Municipal Authority, Judy DeFonso to Pipeline Task Force, Jim Christensen to the Pipeline Task Force, Christy Suppley Marshall to Sustainability Advisory Committee, Mary McCluskey to the Sustainability Advisory Committee, Dan Daly to Stormwater Appeals Board, Tom Clapper to Vacancy Board, Peter Cup to the Park and Rec Commission, and Karen Batavio to Park and Rec Commission, and Dan McCall to Historical Commission, and Chuck Proctor to the Zoning Hearing Board as an alternate, and that John and Mike serve on the business park, the newly created business park task force. So we would handle that in a single motion to approve all those appointments to the ABCs.
I second the motion.
Any discussion?
I think the only thing that needs to be made aware of that we may increase the numbers of members of the plan.
Yeah.
Board.
That's
That's
the
next.
No, I'm just saying that we want to make it known that we may.
Yeah.
We will.
Well, I don't know. We decided we were going to do that yet?
Public
Yeah.
comment?
That's the next motion. So any comments on the ABC
There's no
appointment?
public,
It's been seconded. Any public comment?
no, there's no hands up. Mm-mm.
All right, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. 5-0, thank you. This next motion is that the staff schedule a public hearing to amend the Park and Rec Commission ordinance to increase the number of members to 11, and that we appoint Jessica Bottero and Doug, Staffelbach to fill those two positions. So we have to do a public hearing to do that. But Parks and Rec is, as everyone knows, kind of our crown and the jewel in our crown for East Goshen Township. It's a very active committee. And so it's the recommendation. We had great candidates this year apply. It was so hard to make a choice between the candidates that we figured it would be great to expand the board because of the work that's being done. So that's the reason for this motion.
Ricky, will you be able to do this at the next meeting?
We're doing it now.
Yes, we can, if the board approves that, we can have the hearing on the 19th. We should be okay for that.
I would second the motion to expand the Park and Rec by 2.
Thank you. Any other comment from the board? Any public comments? All right. I'm
No,
gonna
no
call
hands up, no.
all those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. And so that will be, we'll schedule a public hearing on that the next meeting. And Rick, I guess you reach out to all the people and let them know that they've been approved now for the board. So the next motion involves the board liaisons, and I would move that the liaisons for 2021 be as follows. Michelle, continuing on Conservancy, Local Traffic Advisory, and new to the Sustainability Advisory Committee. Marty to the Planning Commission. John staying on Historical and Park and Rec. Mike staying on Municipal Authority. David staying on the Pipeline Task Force. And the Futures Committee was still up in the air. Marty would continue on Futurist. Just make a comment here. I made this comment earlier. My view, the purpose of the liaison is to attend the meeting, listen to the deliberations of the committee, bring motions back to the staff and the board from the committees, and to provide input as requested by the committees of the board when it's appropriate. And it's so that's and any of us can attend any of these meetings at any time as participants in the audience, which we all have done on occasion, depending on the subject matters and the issues that are being addressed by each one of the committees. So so that's the motion would be to appoint those liaisons for 2021, as I mentioned.
So moved.
Second the motion.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion? Any public comment?
No, no public.
I'm going to call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay. Stormwater agreement for 1631 East Stroudsburg Road. Rick, any comments or?
This is for the little stone house that by Christine Lane that was knocked down. They got the variance for the to construct a new house, and now they're going through the process.
Okay. Any comments or anything? Somebody want to make a motion?
I do. So moved.
I'll second.
I'll second. Any additional board comment? So the motion is to, the board to authorize the chairman to sign the stormwater management operation and maintenance agreement for 1631 East Strasburg Road. Any public comment?
There is no public comment.
All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Next is reallocation of funds for the Paoli Pike Trail. Mark, do you want to go through your explanation in the memo?
Sure. So, good evening and Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Mark.
you, Mark. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
So, as I explained in my memo, and Chris and I talked about it this afternoon, just so she was clear, everybody's clear. We have a surplus in the construction engineering or construction services agreement contract with McMahon for F&G and CD&E. So that money was allocated for that service and it won't be used. However, in segment B, the engineering, we're running into some additional requirements for DEP and for PennDOT, right of way, another wetland study they want us to look at, some additional soil testings, and some other things that just we anticipate coming. McMahon would be is a lot more comfortable. We had a little more cushion there. We're also looking at doing an additional right-of-way illustration for our property owners over there to show them what we're actually dealing with. And it would be something that would take an outside consultant, graphic artist, and getting some pushback on securing a right-of-way. So that would help kind of illustrate that and give them a graphical representation of what the trail is going to look like and how far it's going to impact their properties. So those funds would be used for those items in segment B, engineering, get us through the permitting process and at least ready for next steps with depending on what funding source we end up.
Mark, any feel for whether those additional items you were talking about would be fully covered by the reallocation?
So I have an assurance from Steve Giampaolo, our engineer, that those funds will cover what we need to get us through the PennDOT permitting process and at least ready for a permit. PennDOT may not issue a sub-permit until we control the easements, but at least we'll be right there on the ready at the time that we secure the easements.
Okay, thank you.
So in the basic jargon, it's a wash.
Yes, sir.
Any comments from board, or I'll entertain a motion to.
I have a comment. I'm just going to say I'm going to just voice my trepidation that I had voiced before about starting segment A before acquiring all of the funds needed for segment B. This is an unforeseen blip, and it could be potentially pretty costly.
Any other comments? We would hold off, Mark, right until, this is a chicken and egg thing with the easements, right? So what do we do first and what do we do?
Right. We're still wrapping up engineering and some of the studies that PennDOT and DEP want us to wrap up and basically tie up a few loose ends with those in the wetlands area. We also had some unforeseen costs that were required by PennDOT and DEP when they asked for a full-blown floodplain study. That wasn't originally contracted specifically, but they went ahead and did it. So we've had a little bit of scope creep in there. But the idea was McMahon wanted to keep moving the process forward. So we're right at the 5-yard line and we need to get it over the goal line.
The bad news is we have some unanticipated expenses. The good news is we have some surplus that we can assign, and it's not new costs, so that's
Yeah.
good.
We are very, very fortunate in that regard.
And just for clarification purposes, this is all coming out of Fund 8, which is the bond fund, not capital.
Thanks for that, Chris. That's good clarification. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second that reallocation.
Any further discussions from the board? Any public comment?
No, there's no public comment.
All right, I'll call the question then. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by aye.
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 David, while we're close to that, can I ask Ricky a
Oh, wait,
question?
wait, well, wait, we're in the middle of the motion.
Opposed, no.
Oh, no.
No,
No,
3-2.
3-2 motion carries.
I thought we were done. I
No.
just want to, Ricky, did you see the Roofinuk email? How are we going to address that?
If you want, I'll respond to him.
Pardon me?
If you want, I'll respond to him, not a problem.
Okay, I mean,
which
yeah, I
one was
think you're going to
that?
have to, because I don't have the wherewithal to figure out what the hell it is anyway. As a matter of fact, did we isolate it that narrow that we know the cost in the removing of the snow from there, as opposed to doing everything else as a lump sum?
I'll ask Mark, because at some point it all runs together. But I will respond to Mr. Rufney.
That's what I thought. I mean, if we don't separate, I mean, I wouldn't all of a sudden separate just because somebody asked. I mean, I would just say that we treat it all as a lump sum.
right, his right to know, though.
No,
We
it
have,
doesn't.
we have,
You're not required to create new information, just someone asks for it.
That's
There
correct.
wasn't, yeah, I don't think,
so
No.
it's not a breakdown of man hours. He'll know how many man hours it was.
Oh, yeah, we have that.
And he knows how much time it took on the truck.
But he might not necessarily know how many man hours it took
We-
to
we-
snow removal from the trail and the equipment costs on the trail.
Yeah,
So
we don't track it's snow removal. We don't
No.
track plowing the roads versus plowing the parking lot versus plowing
Right.
the park.
Yeah, but you still know how many man hours you still know how many man hours it took. We have to give him that information. We're not creating any new information.
Rick and Mark, get with Mark Miller, give the best estimate that you can, and that's all we can do is give an estimate.
That's right.
We can do.
yeah. Next item on our agenda is to consider the building inspector vacancy. Mark put a memo out with some background and workload statistics. Any comments, questions?
I agree with Mark. I think
I support the.
I think he did a good job on that.
current
I'd
state.
like to know more about it. My impression is that there isn't as much building going on. And I've been told by people that live in other townships that many of them have gone to using outside consultants for this sort of thing. Is that a possibility?
We did look into that, and based on what the prices that we were quoted, we could use an outside consultant. It would cost us more money, and the residents would get less service.
That's correct.
That was the challenge. But you're correct. We issued one single-family building permit last year, but there is a lot of people spending a boatload of money putting swimming pools, generators, decks, and additions on in East Goshen
I
Town.
see. So it's add-ons more than new buildings then, huh?
Well, yes, because we also do, Mark and his crew also do the resale occupancy inspections and all that type of stuff.
Rick, how many
Okay.
Rick or Mark Gordon, how many apartment units are there in the township?
About 2,400.
Okay. That keeps a busy,
It's a little better than 20% of our housing stock.
that keeps everybody busy. 2,400.
John,
Units.
John, you make a good point. I will share with you again my other my day job in East Bradford Township. We had a record number of permits this year. We do have some new housing going up, but that was not nearly that was not more than 5 or 6% of the permits that were issued. And we have an in-house official who does the work full-time, salaried professional, but we do use a supplemental service. It happens to be Keystone Municipal Services. The rates have been very good. We've had a very good relationship with the inspectors who have serviced East Bradford when we've needed them. They've not ever had any complaints. They seem to work well with the staff. The only thing I would say is if that were something that was really of interest by the board, it could be done on a demonstration basis and try it for a number of months and see whether or not it's effective or not, and let Mark make the call later on to say, it's working, it's not. So I can see both sides to it. If you get the right fit of the right inspectors in the firm, you may be able to manage it effectively. But I'm somewhat ambivalent about it, but I thought I would at least share the experience we have in a neighboring municipality.
Hey, Mark, didn't we use an outside site when we got real busy with the development? Didn't we use an outside somebody and we found out it wasn't as productive as we thought it was going to be? I thought I remember that, but maybe I'm wrong.
Not during my tenure, except for we have asked Panoni to help out when we've had medical leaves and that type of thing, and they typically just help us out with some of the apartments.
Yeah, maybe I just got him confused.
Yeah.
Well, I'm good with it if that's what you folks think. I have to appreciate Mike's expertise that he can bring over from East Bradford, but I'm most impressed by Rick knowing that there are 2,400 apartments. Who else knows that?
Yeah, Mike only wishes he had 2,400.
So,
Look at all those green trees out there.
one of the
we just
issues I
spent
think
$6
is
million on some more green trees just at the end of December.
I think one of the other issues with the third party was there were scheduling issues. We're pretty responsive with we can get somebody out there, number one. And number two, with an outside consultant, you're never sure who's going to be showing up to talk to your resident, and that we can control.
I think one of the most important things, this is a compliment to those guys. I don't think, generally speaking, most townships get actual attaboys or attagirls from these inspectors. We do. I mean, I remember.
Okay, I'm good with it. Do we need a motion for this?
We do.
There's a lot of reasons besides money that goes into that. And I got to tell you, if you want a house inspected and you can't get it inspected within 2 or 3 weeks, man, are you pissed off?
That's true.
Or something moving in.
Still moved.
All right, we have a motion to approve the hiring of a authorized staff to advertise a vacant building inspector position and hire in 2021.
So moved.
A second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just got one question. Mark, is it dependent upon, do you want a certain grade level, or is it dependent upon who you can get?
Yeah, it's not really that big of a gene pool out there to choose from. So I really need to see some people. I'd love to get somebody that was a level 3 or higher, because right now we're losing Gary, who's a level 4, and he can do just about everything. So that would be the goal, but it's not necessary as long as they're certified. We have ways to cover down on the other things if we need to ask for help from somewhere.
Okay. Rick, is this something staff handles?
Yes.
Okay.
Any questions from the?
Mark is correct that the pool of skilled or experienced professionals in the code enforcement and related building administration aspect it's
Slim pickings.
It's hard to find young people and young that are interested in making it a profession, so it's going to be a tough find to get somebody that is going to be the right fit on the bus, so to speak.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right now, you've got a very, very busy contractor pool out there. So none of those guys are gonna let that money slip away. They're gonna keep working, and that's where we get our client, our experts is from the field.
From that industry.
They go and get certified, and they spend, their golden years doing inspections. Now, on the off chance, every few times you find a young whippersnapper out there, and that's what I'd love to find. But
Okay.
Okay, any comments from the public?
There are no hands up. No.
All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay.
thank you.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is to consider the proposal for the township manager search. We have a proposal from Dave.
I
Waldron.
propose no. Make him stay.
Is there any reason we wouldn't do it?
I second that.
Rick has agreed to stay on.
Marty,
for-
he said,
All in favor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rick agreed to stay
I'm gonna
on.
go to
better
another
talk to
country
Bonnie,
because
though.
Bonnie will come after me.
Fill them with plastic and put metal struts on them. Just keep them moving.
Yeah.
There
all
you
right, what's the proposal, Rick? Can you
It's
just?
the same rates that we had, subject to a $5,000, not to exceed 5,000 plus travel and expenses. So it's the same proposal we had for our director of finance.
And this would commence.
We-
Once the board engaged Dave Waglam, the first step would be the logistic meeting, which you could have sometime this week. We'll just get a date to schedule it. And then you can walk or discuss with him the actual timetable for putting the ad, getting resumes, interviews, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Any
Any
It's okay by
questions,
me.
comments? Any other questions from the board? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
go.
Second,
Thank you. I'll call the question, or I guess we need a public comment.
No public comment.
Thank you, Susan. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. It's
So far, you
nothing,
scared everybody, Dave.
huh?
You've scared everybody. They won't comment to you.
David?
It's all good.
I
There you
think he
go.
said Dave. Did he use the
No,
word?
no, I didn't say Dave. I
You
said
did.
I had an elongated David.
This is being recorded, Marty.
You know where you live, Marty.
We have
yeah, we
tape.
have a tape.
On the cloud.
Virtual tape. Virtual
We
tape.
are, we're in the public comment period. Do we have anybody in the public?
Anybody left? Is anybody left out there, Susan?
There are two people out, plus Mike Ellis. There are no hands and they're muted, so.
Okay.
Wrap it up, David.
We'll just acknowledge the correspondence. Anyone have any questions or comments about the correspondence that we received in our packet? There's no motion necessary for that.
Nope.
I would,
I would like to comment. David, congratulations, first of all. And secondly, this is the quickest meeting I think we've ever had. Keep it up.
we'll try to keep it that way. It's 7:13, 1 hour and 13 minutes and 51 seconds. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, David.
All right,
Thank you
good
very
job,
much.
Larry.
Thanks,
John,
everybody.
Thank you, Michelle,
Look forward to
Thank you.
2021.
Michael.
Marty,
It's got to be a better year.
It's got to be a better year.
Got to be better.
David, thank you. Best for the rest of the year.